It was a really gradual process, and for me to coming over from Sweden to the UK, and particularly St Martin's, to have that sort of open-minded university, that you could really go anywhere you wanted to go, just to kind of make reality of your ideas. And that was fascinating. And I met Ian, I went into the ceramic studio, I was like, oh my God, you know, this material that doesn't really want to do how you want to do it. And it was a complete sculptural experience. And then I kind of took him the other side onto the technicalities and all the computers and the megabyte side of my world. We opened each other's mind almost.
The process was actually 10 years between us meeting, gradually more and more working together, to the day when we decided, why don't we call this Fredrikson Stallard and have it under one roof, essentially. It was every part of our life that had an influence on that. I mean, in particular in the late 90s, early 2000s, it was the music and club scene in East London that we were a part of at the time, which was very influential in our work. So it was everything within our lives, not just the times when we were sitting down drawing, but everything we did.
I suppose it's this sort of pondering of ideas. We always had lots of ideas, and they sort of live in the back of our minds, and we always categorically put them down in sketchbooks. They are our sort of Bibles, that where it's almost like you put something down and you can almost relax a little bit.
We've worked with cardboard a number of times over the years, and often we work with more low-value materials. Essentially, I'd say clay itself is more of a low-value material. It's quite important in a way because you can be very free with a low-value material. It's like we always say, if you have a beautiful canvas and are about to start a painting, it can be very daunting and you're more likely to make mistakes and not to go as you want, as opposed to a scrap of paper where you're not concerned about whether it's going to work or not. And so in a sense, you feel a bit freer. Working with cardboard is great in that way because there isn't that inherent preciousness in the original material itself. That also adds a whole nother contextual level to it as well, working with something which is essentially disposable, but beautiful in its own right, as is clay. We wanted to give it a kind of a permanence, to take something impermanent, disposable, and make it permanent, which is why we chose to cast it in bronze. When we first cast a piece of cardboard in bronze, which was several years ago, what was so beautiful was the way that if you patinate the bronze and then just through natural wearing, just by touching even of the bronze, the highlights of the corrugation shine up in gold and it becomes very beautiful. And the tactility of it is absolutely amazing, of something that you would never think of normally as being tactile or beautiful in that way. So when we created the pieces for Reformation, we found ourselves actively searching for cardboard which has different kinds of corrugation, because they have different thicknesses and depths and size of corrugation in all the different kinds of cards. So you find yourself actually coveting different kinds of cardboard, different textures, different surfaces, because you know that once they're immortalized in bronze, it's going to be something completely different, and starting to imagine what it's going to feel like and the tactility and permanence of that. Working with the card is very much like painting. It is an extremely painterly thing. When creating the objects, we leave a certain amount of what happens to chance, to fate. You have to, I think, to give a kind of sense of honesty to the piece. But there are some very careful controlled elements within that. For example, much thinner cardboard that you may get on something like food packaging, which is a little bit more glossy, it crumples in a very soft, almost fabric-like way, and that produces beautiful effects, like a little brush mark at the end of a painting. It's incredible. Or there are some, like the FedEx packaging boxes from Asia, which have this real kind of density to the quality of the surface paper, which is rough, but in bronze it's absolutely incredible. It's beautiful. I think this is possibly the first time that we've created essentially what is a collage and then said, this is also a piece of furniture. And that's quite interesting, to take two-dimensional artwork into three-dimensional functional furniture as well, and the fact that it can be either equally